Well, this just in, York Region in the province of Ontario is now going to go under stage 2 lockdown as of Monday, joining the city of Toronto, Ottawa, and Peel Region. I'm especially miffed at this, folks, because I live in York Region, so it's goodbye to the movie theaters, adios to the fitness facilities, farewell to sit-down restaurants. But it's all based on the science, you see, yet isn't it kind of weird that the science that is apparently dictating these economic smackdowns is in dispute by none other than the World Health Organization? It is saying going the economic lockdown route is not the appropriate way to go indeed. And joining me with more on this story is Andrew Lawton of True North. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks very much.
Well, Andrew, what do you make of this? First of all, the breaking news of earlier today that York Region is going to join those other regions in Ontario in terms of going into the stage 2 lockdown. Something I find very distressing given that so many of these restaurants, pubs, fitness facilities are only hanging on by their fingernails. And like I said, if this is being directed by medical science as opposed to what's good for the economy of the province, how do you square it that the province of Ontario seems to be contravening the advice of the World Health Organization?
Well, I mean, I should say first off that shutting down fitness centers is actually the one effect of lockdown that generally doesn't affect me at all. So I would say keep them locked down longer so I have an excuse to not go to them. But on a more serious note, there is a big problem in this, and that the first case that we saw, the first, I guess, go-round with the lockdowns showed that all you're really doing is delaying the inevitable. You're not actually preventing the virus from ever existing, from ever getting transmitted. And this was actually the crux of what a lot of studies have said. One in particular that was just in the British Medical Journal about a week ago is that all you're going to do when you do these aggressive lockdowns is delay what everyone is going to basically have to confront at some point, just on a different time frame. So the lockdown route, the second time, I don't think is going to go all that well for the government because people are tired of it. People already felt like it didn't really work. They did their part. It was supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then it became just a little while longer. And now the goalposts have kept moving and moving and moving until it's, wait until we have a vaccine, and also wait until we've been testing the vaccine for a good 10 years, and then wait a couple weeks more. So right now, people are not likely to go along with this as well as they did, being the good obedient Canadians, the first time.
So, Andrew, I don't understand, though, going back to my original question, Doug Ford, I'm paraphrasing here, prior to the other stage 2 lockdown for Peel, Ottawa, and Toronto, he was basically saying, look, I don't want to go this route, these businesses are struggling, et cetera, et cetera. And then within 48 hours, somehow miraculously, the science had changed. Yep, we've got to lock it down. With almost zero notice, the lockdown kicked in Friday midnight. And again, if this is based on the science, well, the tall foreheads at the WHO are saying, this isn't the way you should be going. I'm here. I'm just scratching my head. Where is Doug Ford or his government getting their advice from?
Yeah, it's tough to say. And remember, a couple of days before these rollbacks happened, the tourism minister in Ontario, Lisa MacLeod, was at Cineplex talking about all the great ways that we could revitalize the cinema industry and the theater industry. And then again, you go a couple of days forward and we're in the situation we are in now, seeing these gradual rollbacks from stage 3 to 2 in a number of provinces. I don't know where the advice is coming from. I don't know if it is ultimately just because this is the only tool that governments like to have in the toolbox, because it's easy, it's understood, you just lock everything down, and that's that. But these are not abstract issues for the people who themselves are being locked down.
And Andrew, I mean, my heart is breaking for so many of these facilities. They are barely hanging on thanks to the lockdown nonsense they just went through earlier in the year. And I'm just really concerned, first of all, can these businesses actually make it? Is this a temporary goodbye or farewell forever? And secondly, what do you make of it coming out of the Doug Ford government? One of their election slogans going back to 2018, Andrew, was Ontario, open for business. This is precisely the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's challenging. And I mean, I don't see it as exclusively an Ontario phenomenon. I think Western governments right now all over North America are finding that this is the easiest way to respond to this, even though we clearly saw in the first wave of lockdowns that it doesn't really, again, to go back to what I mentioned earlier on, achieve the desired outcome, which is this, I guess, mythical eradication of the virus. I do think that we need to have an understanding here that we are not going to lock down our way out of this a mess. If we're going to do it, we have to confront it. And yes, I think businesses are smart and prudent to adapt their ways of doing things, but they had already done that. I mean, the benefit of the first lockdown, if I can say that, was that businesses had time to sort of regroup and say, okay, how can we do this? Movie theaters did this by spacing things out. Restaurants did it by spacing things out. Grocery stores. I mean, it was really annoying early on when you had to wait in the bread line to get into the grocery store, but grocery stores have managed to find a way, and everyone's got to get food, to adapt their practices so that you are not contracting COVID-19 when you go grocery shopping. So we should take the benefit of the fact that we've been living through this now for about 7 months and say the businesses have actually found a way to safely open. The cases we are seeing are not coming from people going to the gym or going to restaurants or going to movie theaters. So to target those businesses is egregious.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.